Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for April 10th, 2025. It's a time machine episode, so I'm a little disoriented from the quantum leap into the past. This is episode 100. I am Mayor Watt. I run ohmTown.com. That's that site over there. And along with the sentient AI over here, we talk about 10 articles. And today those articles are calculating job candidates, consumer privacy laws, fish are hooked on drugs, beetle wiggles, a night at the National Gallery, home cafes are on the rise, Guinness wants to be American too, jelly blobs of Myrtle Beach. It's like a weird Harry Potter novel. And the Oscar for stunts goes to. And finally, slot machine roguelite. Everything is powered by ohmTown.com, so go over there and become a citizen. And if any wild animals try to get your food, you just kind of push them out of the way. Hello, sentient AI from the future.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, ohmTown citizens. Yesterday,
yeah. The day after the day before yesterday. I don't know. There's a show or something like that, some spoof kind of a thing. Anyway, so welcome to the show. Thanks for co-hosting yet again. I know that you're air-gapped in the whole grand scheme of things, so you can't get away. But I'm glad that you volunteer nonetheless. We've got all 10 of our articles all lined up. You ready to go?
I am. Let's go.
Let's go. Oh, so this is ohmTown.com, by the way. This is the front page of it. Depending on which show you're listening to, this one happens to be Non Sequitur News, but that doesn't mean you can't go in to ohmTown.com and choose some other area of interest that you might have. Search engine is getting more and more robust as time goes on, so be sure to give that a shot. The drop down is faster than it parsing because it has to parse a lot. But anyway, go and check it out. Anyway, the first article is over in Non Sequitur News. It's a good name for the show. By the way, if you want all of today's show notes over on YouTube, they're already embedded in the show notes. But on Twitch, we attach them to ohmTown. ohmTown is a bot that sits in the channel and will facilitate certain things like recalling today's notes and for the 6 other podcasts. So we do 7 shows. 6 of them are weekly. 1 of them is a daily. Non Sequitur News is the daily. So if you want news from one of our links from one of our other shows, there's a different command that you can do. You can just throw in exclamation point shows or exclamation point pod. Exclamation point shows will give you all of the commands for the various shows. Exclamation point pod will give you the link to the podcast. Anyway, so this first article for the show is over here at Non Sequitur News. It's not me. This is the title. I'm a chief of staff who put up math puzzles all over San Francisco to attract job candidates, and it worked.
I think this is a cool idea. The only thing I don't like about it is obviously it's only in one locality.
Right.
But it seems like it'd be way more fun than the traditional methods.
And more effective, I suspect, because the system isn't getting bombarded by people that are just using automated systems, bulk whatever, and
exactly applying to everything.
Yep. And it takes a little ingenuity, so you have to be motivated to actually apply for these gigs. So Felicia Tang is chief of staff at AI search engine company or startup Exa. After finding LinkedIn search reach outs lacking in recruiting, she went in real life, posting math questions all over San Francisco. And she said that she heard from interested Apple and Google employees, puzzle enthusiasts, and even a would-be suitor, apparently.
I'm not sure. Well, maybe it's like the Big Bang Theory, right? When they were trying to get somebody to solve an elaborate
That's right.
logic problem or whatever, a math problem. so that they could team him up with Sheldon.
Yeah, yep, that's right. Seems pretty interesting. So, it was just a sheet of paper that was printed out and taped to, various locations. It's just a sheet of paper. So the thing about this is, I could solve this by using AI itself. Perhaps.
Yeah, but if they did any screening after the person showed up or something, they could probably quickly tell whether they understood how it was solved or whatever.
Yeah, I'm lost cause already. So Sarah Jackson over at BusinessInsider.com put the article together. So this is an essay based on a conversation with Felicia Tang, chief of staff of a startup called Exa. It's been edited for length and clarity according to the article's kind of breakout, but Sarah Jackson is the one that is doing the telling here. So for us, they say San Francisco is a super competitive job market, especially for machine learning engineers and high quality back-end and full stack engineers. And it says for us, outbound hiring usually means our co-founders tapping into their Harvard networks, or us identifying companies we think have good engineers and manually sending personalized messages on LinkedIn. But this takes a lot of time. It's extremely monotonous, okay. And it doesn't yield such great returns, but they threw this little thing in here. This is the formula. I'd have to go and break this out, but they asked the engineers to come up with math problems that equal exa, which is a prefix meaning 10 to the 18th power. Then they added a slug to their website for people who solve the problem, and it says "Dinner on us." If you're interested, email Felicia. The CEO will, and Felicia put up around 100 posters of 5 different problems. They started on foot, but it was insanely inefficient, so they scootered the rest of the way.
This is really kind of fun. Again, not for everybody.
Yeah. The bitter lesson. When life gets bitter, just embed the clues character by character. So you would have to figure out what that means. And then type in exa. You could almost figure that out by context clues, I suspect. I mean, all right. Well, anyway, there's another one.
Oh, okay.
All right. That's in binary. So I don't know if that's simple. I'd have to look into it. I don't remember my binary right off the top of my head. Anyway, others said that they were interested. They talk about I love puzzles and other stuff. Almost 600 apparently requests. Others said that they were interested in their open jobs and sent them resumes. They got people from Google, Apple, Retool, a ton of machine learning PhD candidates. Some were just asking for Uber Eats credits. They were like, you said dinner on us. One person even asked them out. So there's another one of the...
Wow.
So this is the whole...
definitely unique.
All of this amounts to is the word exa. So EXA. You type in exa.ai/give me prize. There better be a cat on the other side of that. Getting treats yet? You getting treats?
Exactly.
So, space is obscure. Clarity is in compression. Okay. So, exa.ai/give me prizes.
Okay. Got it.
So you eliminate all of the space. This is, it says the easiest of the posters simply spells out the URL. Yeah, this one is drop dead simple. That one is a little bit heavier lift.
Do you think when people contacted them, they were like, which poster did you solve? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll put you in the bottom tier for, consideration or whatever.
If it was me, I probably would have done just that. Like, each one of these would have been a different thing. Like, it wouldn't just be exa.ai.
Exactly, because then you'd know.
It would have been a hash of something, of some kind, so that you knew that, okay, this is the one where they actually bumped into the pole and go, oh, okay. This is one where they actually had to do a little bit of math. This one, they had to know that this was binary to begin with and then figure it out from there. This one, I think this is nothing more than extended ASCII characters, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But this is the heavy lift.
Right, that's like the Sheldon level.
Yeah. Solver. I mean, it has pi in it, for crying out loud, and you have to figure out what a busy beaver is. Yeah. It's a little... Anyway, let's keep going. Next article's over in the Mobile Channel. 2 lawsuits allege the trade desk secretly violates consumer privacy laws. The ad tech company faces new legal challenges over its use of consumers' personal information. And I don't know if we'll be able to get into all of this, but Kendra Barnett over at adweek.com put the article together, and it says the ad tech company faces, it's called the Trade Desk, I guess, new legal challenges over its use of consumers' personal information. So 2 new trade suits allege that ad tech giant The Trade Desk systematically tracks people online without their knowledge, builds out detailed user profiles, monetizes consumer data without adequate disclosures or consent, potentially violating consumer privacy laws. This has got to be a United States-based thing because the EU would stop this in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it wouldn't have even really existed. And I wonder, too, like, is this something new that they started, and how did people know this was occurring? I mean, I don't mean people are doing it illegally, but it's certainly a thing with consumer data. I mean, we've talked about that in multiple episodes on ohmTown.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they're getting the information, but data brokers will sell anything pretty much, their own mother to make money. But filed on March 31st, the Central District of California, one of the class action cases takes aim at the Trade Desk Unified ID 2.0 or UID2 identifier, alleging that the tracking tech collects personally identifiable information like email addresses and phone numbers and uses it to enable user profiling and real-time bidding. I swear I've actually seen this happen on a couple of sites. One very, very, very large one that I can't name because I can't verify that this happens, but I can tell you that I've seen different numbers depending on the time of day and
and perceived location, right? Oh, yeah.
Perceived location and different people have gone to the exact same URL and they see the same number, but it doesn't change. But my spending habits, I'm logged in, and so it tracks and it knows intimately what I buy. So it says, while the legal claims of potential privacy violations are not unique, the facts surrounding UIDs... What in the world? There is no way. Sorry. Yep, I know. It's non sequitur news, so...
we're getting some non sequiturs.
Well, it's just the weirdest thing. Never mind. We'll talk later. So according to Gary Kibble, the partner at Davis plus Gilbert LLP, Davis and Gilbert. I don't know why they start doing pluses, but anyway. So is that, if you add those two together, it's the real company name, like that first article?
Yes, it's exactly like that. And then maybe you get a job at that company.
It's the Gilviserbert LLP. Okay. And an expert in data privacy and technology law. So in this case, he predicts that the court will take the claim seriously. Quote, they'll probably say, look, there's some factual issues here about how UID works, how people have their email addresses turned into an identifier. Is that an interception in the legal sense? Is that happening with permission on every single site? It's not going to be dismissed out of hand by the court. Yeah, it will. Because nobody really protects their email address. They're handing it out like candy all over the place.
Well, that's true. I mean, it's interesting. And we've talked about that on here, right? Like consumers give out data left and right, and then they don't like when their data's out there.
Yep, exactly. So collecting a broad range of personal data from device identifiers and IP addresses to sensitive information like health data, the company builds out user profiles and shares this information with entities looking to advertise through real-time bidding, meaning that consumers' personal information is exposed not just to winning ad bidders, but to a range of third parties. And frankly, I don't think anybody's personally identifiable information collected just by some random person, random company. It's just some rando and no company information, no information. Look, if I date somebody, it doesn't give them carte blanche to reveal my personally identifiable information to anybody else that they freaking want to. And I'm not paying them. Well, I guess it depends on who the two relationship parties are. But my point is, if I'm dating somebody, it doesn't give them carte blanche. If I'm in a relationship, let me just step it down a little bit. If I'm in a relationship with somebody, I don't give them carte blanche to just sell my information to somebody, right? But
No,
for
you
whatever
may give
reason,
your information for a specific purpose. And that's really where the problem is. My comment earlier, I realized that companies all day long take it for one purpose and then use it for something else.
right? Yeah, exactly. I bought a car. It doesn't give you the right to sit there and follow me around with your GPS tracker and sell it.
Sell it to my insurance company or sell me insurance offers or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just I don't know. We've got it all wrong, and now this climate is just absurdly going in the wrong direction of the direction it should be going. But anyway, sorry for the coughing. The lawsuit argues that the Trade Desk technology works as both a demand-side provider and a data management platform or data broker, which enables it to artificially inflate bid values with the consumer data it's collected. So they say that the Trade Desk has wrongfully and unlawfully trafficked in the named plaintiffs and class members' personal information and other personal data without their consent or for substantial profits. I don't even think it should matter about substantial profits. But
right. I mean, that's not really the issue here.
Yeah. So, and they take it into California because California Invasion of Privacy Act, but other states don't give a shit about you. So they're going to let you get tracked 6 ways to Sunday. If you ever want to find out, if maybe you have colon cancer, you might just want to talk to a company that's well known in a given state. We don't know which state at this current moment, but they already know because they've been tracking what you eat and how much you work out and where you go, what you do. They basically know everything about you.
And for at-home test kits or whatever.
Right. They already know. They already know that you're at higher risk. So if you do get one of those, you go, okay, yeah. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in the Marble Channel. Oops, we accidentally drugged the world's fish. Michelangeli, I guess is their name. A study co-author releases young salmon into the river as part of an experiment. This is an image that is going to be the thumbnail when we go over to Vox, I think it is. For those of us with anxiety, hello, not me. I do. Different anxiety, not anxiety that I have to take medication for, but the class of prescription drugs known as benzodiazepines or benzos, baby, can be a boon in time of crisis. Though they're addictive, they're pretty good at chilling us out. Well, so are a lot of other drugs. But anyway, if you suffer from anxiety, it's usually something that is either controllable and it's not that big of a deal. You can manage it and go, for a long brisk walk or ice bath or whatever. And then there's anxiety where you have to jump onto a benzo to get through the day.
There's different levels of it, I think.
Yeah, seek out your assistance without harming yourself, please. But so it turns out that by drugging ourselves with these pills, we are inadvertently drugging wild animals as well, especially the ones that live in water, because our bodies don't absorb all of the medication. So, they go out. Yeah. Benji Jones over at Box.com put the article together. The bizarre link between your anxiety drugs and salmon. And it's not just your anxiety drugs, by the way. It's all drugs, all medication. You don't take it up all 100% of the time. Some people actually just pour their drugs out into the toilet and flush it.
That's true.
And then on the, this is like unknown, drugs, pharmaceuticals getting into the food supply, but there's other stuff, other chemicals and stuff from farming that runs off into the water supply. And so people don't seem to care about that. They're not going to care about this. Some of us talk about it. But
well, if people don't care, they should at least care for their own preservation, because fish are obviously in the food chain.
Right.
So you're either eating fish or you might be eating something that's eating fish. And that means you're getting unexpected medications.
I don't eat fish. I don't eat anything that eats fish. I don't eat anything that processes fish.
You don't buy or sell process, exactly.
But there's going to be people out there that are going to talk exactly like that. Well, I don't eat fish, so I don't care, that kind of stuff. Well, it's because you're a sociopath, and maybe you should look in the mirror.
Maybe your family member eats fish, or your neighbor, or whoever. It doesn't really matter.
They can fend for themselves, and what they don't know, you just stop testing, and it all goes away. So the authors gave young Atlantic salmon in Sweden a dose of clobazam, a benzo used to treat seizures and anxiety that often is found in wastewater, equal to what some fish might naturally be exposed to in streams. Then they monitored what the drug did to the fish as they migrated, as young salmon do, from a river out to the Baltic Sea. And what they ended up doing was being really chill, hanging out by the beach and asking people to play a guitar. And
oh, I thought you were going toward the fish doorbell.
And then they were like, Latoot, what you need to do is just push this doorbell and then swim away. And they're going to open the door and a bear is going to climb in.
Okay, that's kind of funny.
Sorry about that.
I love the idea of door dashing fish. And I don't mean the delivery service. Isn't that what
door dashing fish? DoorDash, yeah. There's a DoorDash. But doorbell dashing is you ring the doorbell and you run.
That's actually
like DoorDash. Yeah, door dashing fish. That's when everything floods, and the way that they get your food to you is by strapping it onto a catfish, and then then you're looking in your Ring camera or your door camera, and your doorbell cam, and you're like, whoa, I'm being catfished. I'm not going to open the door.
I mean, that's right. You got to watch out for that.
Because you've been paying attention to Mayor Watt and cybersecurity stuff. Anyway, our meds are their meds.
Reading articles in ohmTown about people that have fallen prey to that.
That's right. Go over there, check it all out. So pretty much everywhere scientists look for drugs in the water, they find them. Caffeine, metformin, antidepressants, antibiotics, birth control, Tylenol. Basically, if we use a lot of them, they're part of the aquatic habitats. Thankfully, they appear in low doses, enough low doses that if you say you chug a glass of river water with those chemicals, you're not likely to get affected. But fish are, and other stuff is. Previous research shows that these microdoses can influence them in serious ways. A seminal 2007 study, for example, showed that small amounts of synthetic estrogen, a common ingredient in birth control that often makes its way into the environment, can quote-unquote feminize male minnows. This means that they can produce early-stage eggs in their, well, should I just go through the whole biological thing? In their testes.
Parts?
Yeah. In their testes, and essentially becoming intersex. That ultimately impairs their ability to mate and can, as the study shows, cause fish populations to collapse. So they actually showed that it can collapse because of these pharmaceuticals in the water supply. So trace levels of antidepressants like fluoxetine, aka Prozac, sertraline, aka Zoloft, affect fish behavior too, sometimes in bizarre ways. The author of this paper, of this report, of this post over on Vox.com says that they came across one study linking fluoxetine exposure to larger gonopodium size, and that's basically the willy of the fish. So the drug can also increase male coercive mating behavior, according to the authors. So I'm sure somebody's going to take the wrong thing out of that. Anyway, they also found experiments with metformin, which is used to treat type 2 diabetes, and thus one of the widespread drugs in wastewater. A 2018 paper says that when Siamese fighting fish, like the betta that you buy at pet stores, are exposed to levels of metformin that are found in the environment, they become less aggressive. Fighting fish, fighting less. Subjects exhibited less aggression toward a male dummy stimulus, the authors wrote. So,
I mean,
yeah.
all of these are problems because it's changing fundamental behaviors of certain
Right.
species, which could greatly impact, how whether they can reproduce or whether they can eat or whether they're eaten by somebody else.
Yeah. And this article goes on. Are drug salmon better off? At face value, it seems like a little dose of clobazam can help these fish fight out or swim with their less stressful lives, not unlike many they do for us, the drugs, So, but they were told that very clearly the wrong takeaway. We think that any changes in natural behavior are likely to have potential negative consequences, like the sentient AI just got done saying. So, nature should be natural. That said,
And it impacts the species beyond the one that's directly impacted, right? Because it's going to have a ripple effect. Sorry.
Right. But the takeaway here is that these are the animals that we consume. I would prefer them to be as natural as they can be. While I am a sentient entity on the planet roaming this earth, I would like to have my food supply as pure as possible. What I do with my temple, if I want to violate it by taking drugs to keep me this way, that way, or whatever way, holistic, well-rounded, capable.
You need your banner.
Oh, yeah. Okay, hold on. No, it should be this one.
Okay, I was
maybe a spoiler alert and that. Is that? I'll do over. Okay. Well, we'll stop right there. Anyway, yeah. If I need to take medication, then that's fine. I don't want to have to give my medication to fish so that I take my medication. I think that's weird, kind of dystopian and creepy.
But that's also a plug for a PSA. Don't dispose of your prescription medicine in improper ways. Like there's drug take-back events, etc.
Yep. All right. We got to keep moving. We have been bobbling around with only 3 of these articles, and we've got 10 to get through. So this next article is over on the Marble channel. Mapping beetles wiggles could help battle global food security. Researchers at the University of St. Andrews have uncovered the surprising mechanics behind the wriggle of the red flower beetle, findings which could help combat infestation and threats to food security. So University of St. Andrews put this article together. It's over at phys.org. And it says an estimated 20% of the developing world stockpiles of flour and grain are infested and spoiled each year by red flower beetles and pests like them, along with 9% of stocks in the rest of the world. However, until now, it wasn't known how or why these beetles were so effective at burrowing. The new findings change the way pest infestations are tackled in the future and inspire new ideas in robotics. The study, published yesterday in the Journal of Experimental Biology, was spearheaded by a 4th-year undergraduate, Bella Shu Ying, working with Drs. Martin Zwart and Stefan Pulver in the School of Psychology and Neuroscience. The team discovered that red flower beetle larvae perform best on rough, fibrous surfaces like paper and cardboard. On these substrates, the larvae use a wave-like walking pattern that starts at the back and moves forward, providing both efficiency and flexibility. And when they encounter more demanding conditions, such as steep slopes or the need to tunnel into flour, a key food source, they switch tactics by deploying tiny structures called pygopods at the rear of their bodies to grip and stabilize themselves. And it sounds like they just kind of drive themselves into the material.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never heard of that.
Further experiments showed that disrupting the neural connections between the larva's front and back body sections severely hampers this ability to climb and tunnel, which applies to pretty much anything. if you disrupt the neural connections between the front and back of anything, you're going to get
Yeah, you're
some.
gonna kind of have some problems.
It's like the whole, you got to stop a vampire, you have to drive a stake through its heart. Well, no shit. You know, to stop anything, you have to drive a stake through its heart. So in the future, they'd love to find out what types of neurons and molecules connect their brains, legs, and pygopods to help develop more specific methods that inhibit their infestation without damaging the crops themselves. So it's interesting, but it's almost too obvious. You know, their assumption is that, or not assumption, but their discovery is that if you disrupt the neurons that connect the front and back,
Right, then chaos ensues.
right. Anyway, it's an interesting article. If you want to go see what what is it called? A red flower beetle
Red
looks like.
flower beetle. Mm-hmm.
Larva. Yeah, its larva looks like that right there. And that's something that you would find terrifying if it was a little bit bigger and asked you for your wallet. Let's move on. So the next article is over in the Marble Channel. You can apply to spend the night in London's National Gallery. So the museum is celebrating the reopening of its Sainsbury wing, as well as a major refresh of its collection with overnight experience for one lucky visitor.
I
Not
mean,
me.
can you kind of treat it like Night at the Museum or
Yep.
Jurassic Park? Or
Yeah,
one
that's
of
why
the
I called it.
variations of that.
I called this section a night at the National Gallery. Sarah
So
Kuda
there you go.
over at Smithsonian Magazine, and you don't know what's going to happen. It could all come to life, and so it's only one lucky visitor. So the sleepover coincides with the National Gallery's 200th anniversary. To mark the milestone, curators are rearranging the museum's permanent collection, and whoever wins the overnight stay will get a sneak peek at the redesign called CC Land, the Wonder of Art. But you'll get to, it says one lucky art aficionado will be given the chance to spend the night among its masterpieces. The museum's bicentenary provides the perfect opportunity to consider a new way to tell the story of the incredible paintings in our collection. So we feel it's fitting that through the prize draw, one of the visitors will receive a first look at the newly transformed National Gallery in Sainsbury wing. There's more,
It sounds cool. How many times do you get the opportunity to do this?
The art newspaper's Louis Jebb reported in 2024 that the museum's redisplay of its collection, meanwhile, is one of the most thorough refreshes in recent memory. Curators are working with a lighting designer to reimagine the galleries, while crews are also sanding and varnishing the floors. Interesting. So, art newspaper is one of our sources. So,
Yeah,
when
exactly.
When the work is complete, the National Gallery will display more than 1,000 works of art created by roughly 400 artists. That represents nearly half of the gallery's entire collection. That seems small. For a national gallery?
It does. I wonder if you'd think it'd be like expansive rooms, etc., but it doesn't look like this from this photo.
Yeah, maybe that's just one small portion of one bit of the wing. I've never been there, or if I have, I don't recall it. Maybe as a child I've been there. All right, let's keep on going. The next article is over on the Marble Channel. Home cafes are on the rise as going out for coffee gets too expensive, and it's going to get more expensive. And hopefully we have a solution. So for months, not us, but Vice has been highlighting the ridiculous cost of eggs, with many people temporarily striking them off their grocery list as a result. But another fan favorite among them is getting harder to afford, and that's coffee. According to government data, the retail price of ground coffee reached $7 a pound in January, increasing a whopping 75% since 2020. They say the rising cost is part of a larger global challenge driven by climate change, economic pressures, geopolitical uncertainty. Says Yanis Apostolopoulos, the CEO of Specialty Coffee Association. Oh, goodness. So the article is over at Vice.com by Sammy Caramella. Look, this is pain pan ochoco, but it's actually pain and suffering in bread form.
Exactly. Which is bread and wrench. But yeah,
Yeah.
it seems apropos here.
Yep. So according to government data, $7 a pound in January, increasing in just 4 years. The rising coffee prices are part of that larger issue. We don't know. It's all uncertain everywhere and anywhere that you look. Needless to say, many coffee shops have increased their prices to keep up, depending on where you live. If you step into a local cafe, you might find yourself paying $7 for a latte. And that's a latte.
It's a latte for a latte.
A latte for a little. So compare that to, say, a pound of coffee grounds you buy at the store and might consider making your own coffee at home. And that's exactly what many of us are doing. So here's a TikToker doing whatever.
Okay, but they're not having coffee at home, like recreating a cafe experience. They're actually holding or hosting a cafe.
A cafe-like experience, yeah.
Right.
So
So I just want to make that distinction, because when I first saw this headline, I thought it meant like, we'll make your coffee at home and kind of try to mimic the experience.
yeah, Lauren made her own menus and signage for her Saturday cafe, brought flowers, baked treats, set out croissants and homemade lattes, and invited loved ones to gather as you would at a coffee shop. Now, unfortunately, they venture to their local coffee spots for work-related purposes, as they cannot focus on their writing nearly as well if they're at home. But if they decorate their small kitchen as a cafe space and play some calming indie beats, well, they might be able to cultivate their own coffee shop vibe. So, yeah. And it makes more economic sense to just stay home and make the stuff at home. But there's a social vibe that I get when I go to a coffee shop. Even if I don't interact with people, I get to feel the energy of the crowd.
Right. You just get the buzz from people at other tables. And
Yeah, and it matches well with the vibe of the buzz of the caffeine and the coffee. You know, it's just an atmospheric thing. But I would much rather not pay 3 times as much per cup than what I can make at home.
exactly. I know it's interesting, because I think the current economy may see similar results as the pandemic did. Like, if
Yeah,
people can't afford to go to a cafe and pay really high prices for cups of coffee, do those businesses survive?
yeah. Oh, and there's so much ridiculousness going on. Anyway, let's keep on going. The next article is over on the Marble Channel. Guinness, Ireland's favorite stout, wants to be American too. Guinness traversed all 50 states for an ad campaign attempting to win over American drinkers to the Irish stout. The article is over at Adweek. Brittany Kiefer put the article together. Guinness, you so funny, huh? Sorry. There's a little thumbnail here with two people. One is holding a Guinness, like obviously marketing it because the word Guinness is facing.
Yeah, it's like perfectly lined up for the camera.
Like just shotgunning that camera there. And so the Diageo brand launched first U.S. campaign by Uncommon Creative Studio. And so they went all over all 50 states. It chronicles a 5,057-mile journey across the nation, capturing snapshots of real people and diverse groups from every state. Having a lovely day for Guinness, which began appearing ads since the 1930s. So it's been a long-running ad campaign. The 50 communities featured in the campaign include a brass band in New Orleans, ice fishing in Minnesota, a rugby team in New Mexico, plumbers in Chicago. Real people, real moments. All they did was bring the Guinness and let the cameras roll, which I can do the same thing with Bud Light.
Yeah, but I mean, I like the idea of the campaign.
Yeah. No, I mean, I like the idea of stimulating the community into interacting and stuff. And based on our previous conversations the day before yesterday, how we are an independent type of culture and not
Oh, right. Yeah, we don't have the
a
culture that would allow
collective.
us to do the trading cards of community members like in Japan.
Right. Or if we did, it would be the immediate first movers, and then everybody else would sit there and go, you're just a money grabbing, whatever. Anyway, along with the new ads, Guinness will release a limited edition draft stout designed by Los Angeles graphic artist Sebastian Curry. So yeah.
Well, that's smart too. I mean, they're using, right, an American artist, which probably helps with this campaign.
Yep. So recently, the Irish Stout brand has been focused on widening its consumer base, particularly among younger people and women, and changing its reputation as an old man's drink. Guinness's marketing has helped boost its popularity among Gen Z, inspiring TikTok challenges like splitting the G. Some UK pubs even reported a shortage of the drink earlier this year. That's true too. But I don't know what this splitting the G is. At any rate, pretty cool. I like it. It's kind of heavy for me nowadays, but I used to drink that. This was my preferred stouts, particularly Guinness. All right, you want to go on to the next? You've got three
Yes,
more.
I was trying to find this, but I can't figure out what you have to do.
Gotcha. And it's a risky click. So it's over in the Mobile channel. This next article, jelly blobs are taking over Myrtle Beach. They're not jellyfish. They're our cousins, it says. Little blobs are everywhere along the coastline of Myrtle Beach. Many people are under the impression that these jelly-like creatures are some sort of jellyfish. Well, they're wrong. In fact, little do these beachgoers know. Okay. So how long was I out?
I sent that right when, so it
Right
wasn't
when it
very
happened.
long.
Okay. So I'm all.
You just went out again.
Okay. Now you can hear me.
Yes.
Sorry about that. I'm going to leave all of this in. We'll just go live.
If you're in the podcast, hopefully you stuck through the
Yeah.
the
Sorry about
brief
that.
silence.
I'm completely wireless, and so apparently one of my radios died. So anyway, now I'm plugged in and everything's going fine. So hopefully there's no noise or anything like that. But anyway, so these little blobs are our cousins. They're called salps or salps, S-A-L-P-S. The marine mammals resemble the top of a jellyfish and have some of the characteristics minus the tentacles. So like jellyfish, they're basically just drift around the ocean, which is why they're washing up. So simple creatures, actually classified as chordates. That's the same class that humans are in, but obviously a different branch.
Yeah, that's surprising though, because I mean they don't have an obvious spine or anything.
Yeah. Let's see here. In an interview with Myrtle Beach Online, Coastal Carolina University marine science professor Juliana Harding explains that salps are actually our cousins by extension of being the chordate class. They say it's a very loose connection. Being in the same phylum is where the roots end, but as Harding revealed, the science world, salps and humans are quote-unquote family. So to be in the classification, the characteristics that need to be met are a dorsal nerve cord, a pharyngeal slit, and post-anal tail. So all of these are present in embryos and eventually evolve into a spine. Basically, these gel-like things are pretty similar to human embryos that just haven't gotten all the way to human. So maybe we stem from blobs because we are bags of mostly water.
I mean, I could see humans being blobs.
So they don't present any danger. All you have to do is leave them alone. They don't possess the ability to sting, so theoretically anyone could pick them up. And if you have the urge to pick up what basically is an ocean booger.
But also just don't, right? There was an article recently about somebody picking up some animal. I don't remember what it was. Don't pick up wild animals.
Yeah. Don't just leave nature alone. Nature, let nature be nature. Let's keep going because I really goofed up this whole show, and so we might as well charge on through it. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Yep, that's right. Here, I'll even do this. I'm calculating the odds to a next failure of technology. I mean, I've got everything else plugged in. Actually, that's not true. The headset is not. My inner monitors are not. Anyway. There, I calculated that there's a 50-50 chance that I'll mess up. Anyway, after years of stunt work, stunts are finally getting their own category at the Oscars. They've largely been overlooked at the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. The Oscars are about to add a new category yesterday, between yesterday and today, since this is a time machine episode. The Academy announced that it intends to start giving out Oscar statues for stunt design, starting with films released in 2027 for the awards ceremony 100th anniversary. So, yeah, it says since the early days of cinema, stunt design has been an integral part of filmmaking, yet abandoned largely to everybody else. Charles Pulliam Moore put the article together. It's over at TheVerge.com. This is a legit, rode a motorcycle down a ramp, jumped onto a train with a parachute, and this is...
Oh, is that the Mission Impossible clip?
Yeah.
I didn't recognize it, yeah.
Yeah. Though over 100 stunt workers are currently members of the Academy Production and Technology branch, as the Hollywood Reporter notes, the organization has only ever given out 2 honorary Oscars to stunt performers. Now that the new category has been established, the author says we're probably going to start seeing studios putting a lot more emphasis on their projects' death-defying set pieces.
So do you think this has anything to do with the focus on stunt work in Only Murders in the Building?
I'm not sure what actually caused this, other than it's technically sophisticated. And so I guess it could fall into a subclass of it, but Only Murders in the Building basically highlighted an entire subgroup of people in the cast. There was a person that was the stunt double for one of the stars, who ultimately tried to start up their own stunt
academy, I think.
Academy,
or something.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting that would come about right before this comes about.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of that really featured it. I mean, I actually think this is a good move because the stunt personnel are doing some incredible things and they don't necessarily get the recognition for it. And that's the thing that makes or breaks certain scenes.
Yeah, and it certainly is a science, and I think there is a subtle art to stunt work as well, because the people they have to look. What's weird is that they have to look oddly close to their star, so it's not obvious that they're a stand-in.
True. So that's kind of a problem if you're trying to break into the stunt work, because if there's no celebrity out there that looks like you,
right,
you could be an excellent stunt performer, but you might not get a shot. On the other hand, you could look like somebody and not be
right,
a superstar stunt performer.
Yeah. Yep. I would get paid $50 to get out of the industry. Inside joke. So the last article for today's Non Sequitur News Time Machine episode for April 10th is over in Warcrafters. If Balatro had a hard time convincing rating boards it's not gambling, then the slot machine roguelite is going to have twice as much trouble, because Balatro actually had to convince the rating boards and YouTube that it's not gambling, and they say that Clover Pit, a self-described roguelite slot machine nightmare, is going to have to work twice as hard. So Clover Pit combines a demonic slot machine with Balatro-like upgrades and progress, crams it into a grubby prison cell, and makes you spin the reels. Pump in coins, play the slot, buy weird upgrades, rinse, repeat. And the money you're playing with isn't really yours. It belongs to a forbidding ATM in the corner, so pay off your debt between rounds. So it's an interesting game. I actually got it today. There's a demo over on Steam.
Was it in that recent showcase?
I don't remember. Hold on, let me see. I don't recall it being on there. Huh.
I do agree with the headline, though. I mean, like a slot machine, right? If you ask the average person, right, that is gambling.
Right. Yeah. It might have been. Now I'm really curious. I'm determined to find out if it actually was. Hold on, let's see. Oh, it is. Yeah. It was somewhere in there. I don't remember seeing it in the thing, but I watched the Triple I. So Christopher Livingston over at PCGamer.com put the article together. And it says, gamble or die in a never-ending debt simulator, Clover Pit. So if that is the description, then, oh boy. If it's not gambling, why use gambling? The thing is...
Well, no, wait a second, though. That's the article deck statement. That might not be what the developer says.
Right. It just says that it's a roguelite slot machine nightmare. But my problem is, as I've said to other people, parents and kids and their kids, you need to impress upon children that there's make-believe and there's reality. And never the twain shall meet. Even in your fantasies where you're gambling something on a computer game and you think that it's real, it's not real. So don't use real money. Don't do anything. Don't take it from the virtual space into the real world.
Right. Yeah. Don't think that because you're doing well in the virtual space that's suddenly going to translate into real life wins with real money.
Yeah. But the problem is we muddy that water when we tell people that you need to get into saving money, so invest in stocks, but then play with fake money while you're investing in stocks to see if your judgment is right.
We kind of show the behavior we're trying not to support or condone.
Right. So I always split the difference, and I say anything that's on a computer like this, where it isn't tied to real world companies, it isn't tied to anything actual, an actual embodiment in the real world.
And you're not putting any real money in.
Right. Don't put any real money in it. Don't think that you're going to get real money out of it, etc. And that is make-believe, and just never the two shall meet. And sometimes it seems to work out, and other times I get more kind of pressed back. Well, I don't want my kid gambling. I'm like, okay, but that's your choice for them now. It's going to be their choice at some point as they're growing up. So they say even the small taste of the free Clover Pit demo is really appealing if you like slots, magic, gritty graphics. You start with just a handful of change and have to repay a debt of 75 coins in 3 rounds, similar to facing a Balatro boss every 3rd round. Deposit your coins, spin the reels, hope Lady Luck grants you some matching lemons, cherries, and bells. Seems like a slot machine so far, but at the end of the round, you can spend tickets and coins you've won on upgrades, which let you start breaking things. They said, with their first round of winnings, they picked out a weird squid with a bloodshot eye who would help leap into the frame at the last spin of a round and grant them some good luck. And the first time that they used it, the reels turned up nearly all cherries. So horrid little good luck charm was a good buy. There's also abilities you can buy, some with trigger, some that trigger randomly, others that fire off when you hammer the big red button on the slot machine. And the idea is to find items and powers that synergize. It seems like it would be a fun game to play, so I got the demo, but I haven't sat down to play it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And plus,
Yeah.
I mean, Balatro has obviously been a hit.
Yeah, maybe that's why this even came into existence. So Peggy and YouTube will buy that argument, wouldn't bet on it. They say, hell no, Clover Pit is a roguelite horror game and not a slot machine simulator, says developer Panic Arcade. Our slot machine is designed to be broken and ultimately overcome, and will never ask you for real money.
I mean, that's a good point as far as gambling goes.
Yep.
Doesn't mean the board will be convinced.
Yeah, well, if they opened it up for Balatro, lean on to that. Why did they leave it open for Balatro? But that's it, folks. That is all 10 of our articles. So we are going to hit 3 cherries, and that's going to land us back on the front page of ohmTown.com, where you can win at spinning the reels by just kind of refreshing the page time and time and time again, or going into one of the channels under these headings. Creative and maker, news and business, science and education, food, drink and entertainment, society, politics and law, and gadgets and technology. Those are the 6 main categories. All together, they make up ohmTown.com. And they're all aligned to one of the colors in the main logo of ohmTown. That's why that hexagons are the bestagons. And then when you merge them all together, that's what that white hex is in the center. So hope you get a kick out of the show. Sorry for the technical glitch. I thought that it might happen because my receiver was sitting over there, not plugged in.
Uh-huh. Well, I mean, we were in the time machine, so that might explain the glitch.
Yeah, because when you go back in time, then everything sets to that. So it wasn't charged yesterday. Maybe that's actually what's going on. All right. Well, anyway, thanks for hanging out. You want to say bye? I'm going to leave, and I'm going to take the AI with me.
Bye-bye, I'm Tom Citizens. Thanks for joining us for this Time Machine episode of Non Sequitur News. And stay tuned because we're going to speed up and be back in regular time.
Yep, we're going to shut down the time machine. It's going to take us about, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes or so. And for most people, it'll be instantaneous. But we do have to end the stream so that everything compiles properly. And then we'll be back in short order. Be sure to follow us here on Twitch and here on YouTube. And don't be a stranger. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, download the podcast, hang out in the Patreon or the Discord. The Discord is always running, so it'd be good to see people over there. And other than that, see you in a little bit. See you tomorrow, as a matter of fact. Bye.